No, I think it was when you had that mine car
Mine car.
that you'd have to wind it up and down by hand. Was that the Congo?
Oh, oh, that was in Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah, we had to go down to where the turbines were. They had this waterfall come down and turn the turbines. So it went down. And when you're ready to come back up, you signal bells or something to the operator at the top. If he left, you're stuck. That didn't happen. The cable, it was a little cable car.
Like in the Indiana Jones or something.
Yeah, it was built by the British when Kenya was one of the British colonies. That dam operation to get power. It was old.
And that was a power company thing?
Kenya Power and Light. Okay? Which generated power for Kenya. And still does.
And they needed a phone line?
Actually, it was phone, circuit cable, waterproof. It went from the top down. I had the Kenyans install it because they had no way to remotely monitor to get the signal up. And the best way is use twisted pairs and telephone line. And they strung it through the trees going down.
So they're trying to get it up to a broadcast.
No, I was telling them they need this. So if something happens down here, you can get the signal up to the RTU and it connects by radio. They had no way to get, whether the turbine's turning or anything. You could go down there and find out. And, but it was kind of primitive. I remember that little cable car though. Yeah, and then you get to the bottom, somebody's got to pull it back up. And it was the Kenyans, 4 or 5 of them pulling it back up the hill. Actually, it was almost like a jungle.
There was also Nigeria and the Congo. Which one was first?
The Congo. I went to the Congo before I went to Nigeria.
And that was where they wanted to have their own cell phone?
They had nothing in that village where they lived. Nothing. They didn't communicate with the outside world. And they didn't have a radio station. And they asked me, could I get a radio station for them? And I said, I'll check into it. And I did when I got back. Who makes low power FM radio stations? And there's a Rochester, New York company I remembered. And they make a kit. So you can have your own FM or AM, whatever. And it's, but it's low power. But that's all they need. And because of that, later on, the same Kenya emailed me, not Kenya,
Congo.
Congo, Congo guys I worked with, could I get a used cell site? And I said, I probably can, because some of these sites were built under old standards. But you don't have cell phones. I said, and how are you going to connect to the outside world? They said, maybe they'll solve that with, and what they turned out, they just had huge networks, so put in a satellite terminal in the town, right in the center of the town, like a phone booth, and you can go in and put all your money in it, and you can make a phone call over satellite. They did go and do that. And they did buy the kit. I told them they wanted me to provide it first when I got back to the U.S. And I said, no, I said, there's no way I can handle that. But I said, you can order it direct. Somehow they got an order through, and they built a radio station. The last day there, in the village, because I didn't eat with them. I ate in our compound, ran by the oil and gas company, which was, they had decent food. They had cooks from different parts of the world, usually Filipino cooks. But it was great. The problem is you had to get food in, that's dropped by helo. And also it could come in by boat. We had two ways to get stuff. And they had a satellite terminal. That was the only way you could get for internet on the compound. And I could link in back to Mosley. But the canyons were great. There was about 20 of them. I held a class, and we got all the links working. And they could actually, basically, I thought they could take care of them. They were able to interpret, and use the controls. So the last day there, we all get together and they do a group shot, photo shot. I never got a copy of it, but all the canyons and me. And they gave me a card, and then they held a little reception out, what it looked like a barn or so, in town. And they had about 4 different kind of meats on the table, which they couldn't tell me. Maybe they were what they ate. But I really didn't want it. And I didn't want to drink the water, so they had some beer for me, and I drank that. They made the beer. Yeah, but I didn't really eat a lot of that meat. I think I didn't want to insult them. But I didn't know what those meats were.
Okay, whatever was in the jungle.
That's right. And they could have been snake.
Well, if you already made up your mind to not eat squirrel in Louisiana, it's not like you want to eat squirrel in the Congo.
If I lived there, yeah, I'd have to eat whatever they got. But they did make bread products and stuff, and those were good. And they did have vegetables. There were several petrol stations that were being pumped. They were close to the road as we went up and down, and I have to go in because they had linked offshore platforms from these different stations. I think it was about 6 links we put in. They did that. And they all were brought in, the reception-wise, back into the compound. Compound was a 12-foot wall with barbed wire on it.
A wall or a fence?
Wall. And the oil company had security guards on top of the wall, armed to the hilt. And the first day we got there, they said, for those of you who hadn't been here before, if anything happens and we got to get out of here, there's a boat waiting at the end. It looked like about 200 feet down on wooden steps. And there was a boat, 2 outboard motors. As you climb down that ladder, get on that boat, there'll be someone, and they'll take you out to a platform.
Just an inflatable boat.
No, it was a nice boat. I didn't have to get on it because we didn't have an insurrection. Okay? But I guess every 2 or 3 years, they don't elect a ruler. The one that's in power usually gets taken out. And it was kind of neat, is that as we travel this one road.
The houses of the former leaders.
Yeah, did I tell you about that? There was 2 of them. They said down this, well, if you can see, and it was a burned out building. That was our leader 2 years ago. And then we go further. That was our leader 3 years ago.
And it's not as bad as Nigeria, where you're driving over a speed bump every night, and then in the middle of the day you find out it's a body.
Yeah, that's what happened. We didn't do it, but I watched it. Yeah, and they just didn't care. They just kept running over. And the other thing is that, well, they're back. I told you about that in Nigeria.